All right. Happy Friday to all you devils out there. Sam here with you. Oh, it's about 1 o'clock here in Austin on the Friday the 30th here of July. Of course, we're going to get to Bitcoin in a second. Before we do that here, just a quick reminder for any of you that get some value out of these videos. I think I'm these Bitcoin videos or any of the 2,000 videos that I've posted up here. Yeah, if you're getting some value out of that and you want to maybe sharpen up your TA skills as we go into the next round of Bitcoin, wherever that may take us. Just a reminder here, you can always join us for free, right? If that's of interest to you, you can get a little bit more access to the white belt here. I'm just over here on our website. Link is directly below the video, as it is in every video we've ever posted. And just come over here, plans and pricing. You get a breakdown here on what's available to you in our 3 plans, but most people will start with the free plan here. Come in, just kind of sample the content. This gets you access to the white belt, right? Free access to the white belt. That's 4 hours of training, right? With a test at the end of it, right? Just because it's free doesn't mean it doesn't have any value. And many people that just kind of wing it and go, I got this, right? They fail. Right? You're going to have to practice and apply what you're being taught if you want to pass any of these, and then move on to blue belt, which will be much more challenging. But that would require your entrance into the educational program. If you want to skip the Elliott Wave education, some of the advanced things that we're teaching in the belt system, you only just go to social, and that's kind of everything but the belt system. You get access to all the trading rooms. Essentially, it's everything that's available to the educational members with the exception of the upper belts. Right, that's it. But that's a nice little, it's typical progression. People will either go from free, they'll get through the white belt, and then they'll want to go blue, they'll go into educational. Or if they've been through maybe blue, purple, and it's like, okay, I'm good. If you get through purple, you're light years ahead of 99% of the people that are trading out there. And you might say, oh, that's enough, right? But I want access to the trading room, so then I'm going to back down to social, right? Just $49 a month. I still get access to everything, but I don't need the intense education anymore because I passed. Well, if you pass through purple, you're in good shape. So I just remind you of that. I don't pump this or pimp this all that often to the chagrin of my marketing people, but I should do it more. But just a reminder here. And you can always just go through here what's included with each of these. Okay, with that, let's get over to Bitcoin. Now, first, I got to turn off my Ninja alerts. Two machines, one for all the Ninja tools and the futures trading, and then this one here with all the crypto stuff. Okay, all right, let's get into it. All right, so 2.5 minutes in, not too much. So here's the Bitcoin daily chart. Now, I've got to tell you, I had this conversation with a couple of my senseis throughout the course of the week. I only partly in jest, was saying Bitcoin, this chart right here, this daily chart of Bitcoin off of the 18 low through the COVID low, this truly has the potential to go down as one of the greatest examples of Elliott Wave in the history of the markets. Now, I'm making some assumptions here. The assumption being that if indeed, we don't know if the B wave is done here, right? Maybe not. But if this goes B, C here, and we go to the 38 here, the lower edge here, we were at equidistance within the median lines here. We don't overlap the 2017 high or the wave 1 high. If we pivot down here in this area and we go up here to that target here, which is 128 and change, I kid you not, that will be on the cover of every Elliott Wave book that's printed from now to infinity. It has the potential to be that just perfect textbook. Couldn't script it if you tried. Now, is it going to do that for us? Well, that remains to be seen. But certainly sitting here right now, man, if that doesn't have you thinking about improving or taking a deeper dive into Elliott Wave education, there's not much I can put in front of you that will. We shall see how this resolves if there is indeed one more leg down. It certainly does look that way. And as you sit here looking at this, and we'll stay on the daily for just a minute, and then we'll go down to some lower time frames. Looking at it, right? So the assumption here, if we're going to stay with just absolutely classic textbook, perfect Elliott. Well, you might assume that we'd get a zigzag out of this, most common correction. So if we got 5 here and we're going to get 3 here, well, then follow that with 5 down to get us into a perfect zigzag for our 4. Well, the 5, I think we can make a case here. While there's alternate counts here, and I've seen a few of them. There are alternate counts here. If the 5 that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if our low is in here off of the 5, and there's some counts here that have the A going in here, and this being an internal, this would be the 3. We're in the 4, and we still have another leg down for the A waves to still complete, which I think is less likely, but I've seen that count. If we're complete here and now we're going through a 3, well, you can certainly make a case as we sit here right now that 3-wave structure here is complete. There's a textbook running flat sitting right there. What would make it less than perfect here if we stay with the idea that we could have a perfect Elliott wave sequence here, impulse? It's a little shallow. So if I just drawing from the, let's get it on that pivot just exactly. If I'm just working from my swing high to my swing low here, it's a little shallow to be, well, certainly to be perfect. Now, a B wave anywhere from the 50 to, I'm sure we can go past the 3, but prime zone would be really anywhere from the 50 to the 786. So anywhere in here would be prime. Now, if we hit the golden zone and we pivot at the golden zone, well, not only will we have a perfect Elliott wave sequence, we'll have absolutely this will be on every Trade Devils piece of literature that ever goes out from here on out, because we will have a perfect algo pull as well, right? So we'll have every ingredient of the Trade Devils methodology in play here, as we'll have market geometry, we'll have the fib structure and the algo plays, and then we'll have a clear Elliott wave count here with a textbook impulse. Now, again, it remains to be seen as to whether or not that's going to play out, but certainly all the ingredients are there. Now, what you would like to see is a slightly higher B wave here. Again, if we're going to go for perfect, which I don't know that it's necessarily, that's our objective, but just kind of for the sake of the conversation, if we're going to go for something perfect, you'd be expecting that B wave to be a little bit higher. So is there a path for that to happen? Well, yeah, there is indeed, right? Of course, we could see this turn into something a bit more complex. So while we're not going to see the detail here out on the daily, just for the sake of the discussion here, well, certainly you can see the potential here for this to be a running flat. So we've got 3. This is complex here, but be 3. While it's complex, it looks like it's a WXY. If we go 3, allowing for the combination here, would be essentially another 3. So 3, 3, and there's certainly the potential for an impulse to have completed here. So we'd have just a textbook, couldn't print it any better, running flat right there. Right, deep here, we go deep, but we don't overlap, so right there's where that B wave can go. Well, sure, it could have gone past here. We have an expanded B, but in a flat like this, that's just textbook. I think it goes 887 or damn near to the 90, swing down, and then we get a clear impulse coming off that. Now, are we done? Again, right? So, I mean, if we were at the 50, I'd lean into that a little bit more, but I want to see it go up here. We know how responsive Bitcoin is to the golden zone, so I'd love to see this come up here again. Well, how could it do that? Well, I think at this point in time, we'd have to do it through a combination. So this would have to be the ABC's potential to be complete here. So this would likely have to be the W that completes here. Then we'd look for an X and then potentially a Y to take us up here. Now I'm just kind of freestyling here. So the geometry here is really not the point. But I'm looking at this going, well, how could I get up here? Well, this sure looks like 3. So what are they, as we get into the lower time frames, we can see this. There's an impulse here. So as we're starting down here, potential here that if the impulse is complete, that we could go into a 2 wave here, and then we're going to go into a 3 and a 4 and a 5. Well, the problem with that is we get so far gone, well, again, I'm just free drawing here, but just using typical wave structure and wave relationships here, it doesn't quite work, right? So you would be going 1, 2, 3. It's all wrong here. Now you'd be backing into this, trying to figure out how we could finish down here, which is questionable. But a WXY could get us there. Now, how are we going to know, right? So at this point, as we sit here, there's really only a couple of well, with Bitcoin, there's always more than one or two paths. But if we're done here, if we start to come down and we go into, if we get a pullback here, so one thought is here, if we get a new high here, well, we're going to have to revisit this. But if we start to come down here like this, and we just at that point in time, it's much more likely here that we've gone 1, 2, 3, and you'd be looking for 4 or 5 to bring us down here. And now you're back to thinking, well, I'll be damned, right? Maybe the B is going to come up shallow here, and we are going to have that shallow B, and we're going to go down. We'll look to finish with an impulse down here to this zone here where we're projecting for our 4th. Well, that could work. That could work, right? So, I mean, if this rolls over here, well, then again, you're just leaning into, well, I guess it was a shallow B wave. Where it's going to get a little trickier is if we come down here, maybe we do a 50, and then we start to go up again. It's going to be interesting here. So we're going to go down to, I'd probably bring that up a degree here. We're going to go down to a smaller time frame and then look at some scenarios here as to how that might play out, because I think that will affect where the next opportunities are. Now, see, one thought is to think, oh, hey, the impulse is complete here. Why aren't you selling here? Well, number one, I rarely, if ever, short Bitcoin. So I'd be just looking for where's the next opportunity to be a buyer. If you're long, it's not a bad thought here to consider, if you have access to some derivatives, to maybe hedge your position a little bit. So maybe some call spreads up here. Just any of those of you that would know how to hedge would likely already be looking at that. The only reluctance to doing that is how shallow we are here. We've yet to make the 50. So that would have me just pondering, as we go to the smaller time frames, possible scenarios here. I suppose there is a case here. There could be one more leg up here, and this is not done. This could be, rather than completing here, maybe we're in a 4, and there's another leg up for a 5. Now, the subdivision, when we get there, it's not an easy solve to get that to play right. But that's one scenario, which would be a reason why it might be a bit early to consider some hedging strategies up here. Now, if we were at the 50, I wouldn't hesitate. I'd be hedging up here. But since we're not here, there is a possibility there's one more kick up that would get this B where we would want it. Again, for this kind of textbook, if we're going to get perfection here, that's where you're looking for the B. And then of course we'd have an algo with us, and you can see how that could play. If we're coming from our prime zone here, well, there's the algo target right there next to our 38. So you'd end up with this area down here where we'd have just again that perfect solution. And additionally to that, as you look at that, you can see how, well, if I were to do this, now we can draw it as it is right here and look at that and say, oh, well, that's shit, it's not too bad as it is. If we go a little higher, well, this might, you don't know when we're going to get there. That might go out a little further in time. If we're going to come down for this. Now, many of you will immediately say, hey, whoa, wait a minute, I've heard you say many times, if we're in a correction, we would want to look at the shift. Oh, come here. Yeah, that is true. So let me get, I'm on the wrong thing here. Let me get that. Let's get modified shift. Well, look where the corner is. Right, so whether you want to look at it, I would just go switch back and forth between the two. Whether you want to stay in original recipe or go to a shift because it's corrective. I mean, again, it doesn't have to be here on this edge. These are always just kind of guidelines here. We could hit it here. We could hit it here. You just don't know. But I'm just kind of using that again for the idea that it would just be textbook perfect, and we get this 4 coming in down here on the lower edge of the shift. Median lines here as we hit the algo target, as we hit the 38, as we hit these the equidistance from the outside parallels. I mean, it's pretty sexy, right? If it plays that way, we shall see. All right, so enough dwelling on that is because now. So the question mark is where are we here? Are we done? Well, one thing that certainly is hard to miss is how perfectly, again, thinking in the context of ideal Elliott scenarios, how perfectly the prior 3-4 down a degree has framed this whole section. Interesting, right? So, I mean, you could draw it this way and say from the low to the high. Boy, are we in a well-defined range here? Right? I mean, everybody's drawn that, right? We can all see this if you're out looking at the dailies, which of course you should be. Well, I mean, that's as obvious as it can be. All right, we're stuck in this range till we get out of this range, one side or the other. We could stay range bound for a while, but if we stay range bound, and this is going to, even if there is one more little kick here, we're going to start heading lower. Well, that all of a sudden starts to set up the potential for this WXY to play, give us the ideal B, and then we're right back to perfection. We'll see. Okay, now I think I've kind of covered this as much as I possibly can here. All that said, let's pull back out here. Oh, just for what it's worth, these are this is the 75 and the 85. I just put these on here to see if I could mimic it down here and see how that would look. Again, that would be just perfect if we were equidistant in that gap to the outer median lines. But boy, would that, oh God, right? Forever and a day. That would be this would be the ultimate advert for Elliott Wave. I propose to you in the history of the markets. All the ingredients are there. You got everything: the fear, the greed, the celebrity figures, the crowd dynamics. Everything is here. Everything is here in Bitcoin. Everything, man. I gotta hope it does. It's just be fantastic. Well, we shall see, right? Not to mention, right, if you get the opportunity to be a buyer down here and ride it up to 130 or 128 or whatever that ends up being, or 200, wherever it goes. Nothing says it has to stop here, but that will be forever the best Elliott Wave impulse in the history of the markets. Okay, that said, let's go. Let's dig in here so I don't run out of time. Oh, let's go. Let's go here. Let's go. So this is an 8 hour, so I got a couple of things on here. You see the same thing is recreated over here. I can just move our little hot box here. Now, a couple of things that I have on here. Let me pull out a little bit here because I had a comment. Well, it wasn't a member; it was a YouTube sub. Terribly confused as to how the hell we could have finished this as in a diag because we didn't have 3 in the one wave. Well, I sent this to him here, but I thought maybe I'd go over this, whether if we have any new Elliott Wave students here, members, right? We'll all have covered this. But it's a little tricky in here, and while before this count, we were really solid on what this was, there was a strong case here that this you could interpret this as an impulse. But now, as we're kind of forced to do it here, you can certainly, maybe 8's too small or too big. Let's go back here, and you can see the breakdown here. You can make it work. I mean, it's a bit distorted, right? There's no question it's a little distorted. So it's A, B, and you got a monster C, right? Not the craziest thing ever, but it's, I mean, again, if we're talking about perfect swing structure, right? Perfect swing structure, oh God, is here, right? A to B equals C to D, something like that, right? Or you get an algo play, something like that. That's perfect structure. We don't get that here, right? It's not perfect at all times, right? Don't look for it to be. So A, B. Now, for here, it's a little bit easier. So I can get 5 into the 1, the 2. I got 5 into my 3. It looks like I get a WXY into that 4, up for the 5. So that gives us a 1. I mean, it's textbook after that. 3 down to 2. Here's 3 into the C, 3 down into the 4, and 3 to finish it up here. So the ending diag is actually quite perfect. I mean, other than a little bit of a distortion with the huge C wave here, but it certainly plays, right? Now 5 down into the A, and then same guy was a little confused as to how I was calling this a flat if I have 5 in the A. Well, the flat is in the B wave, right? So perfect 3 into the A, the complex B wave here. Now we've had a correction. So having just gone through that, because I thought perhaps if he was confused, others might be as well. So I thought I'd just revisit that. Okay, so here's the proposed A wave coming down for the 5th here from the proposed 4. So clearly that there is no force fit to get this into a 5. It's not doable. Nor would you need to. I mean, it's a 3 as clear as could be. So the 3 here is influencing what comes after that. So the 3. Now, this right at that time, you could have made a pretty strong case that, hey, maybe the 4 was over here because we had such a strong 3, right? Just like this was such a strong 3. Well, this starts coming down and is clearly not impulsive, and it appears that now it's ended up as a WXY. So ABC, A, B, and there's a clear 5 that finishes that second C. So it's all corrective, but that puts us into a 3 into the A, a complex 3 into the B, and now here we've got this clear impulse. Oh, let's see. Let's try a 2 hour here, and we can break into this. Now, all I've done here is just take the swing low to the swing high, and I've drawn in the volume profile here because I want to see this area down here. In fact, this was for a member that was working through this. I wanted to be sure she saw that we had this air pocket here in the volume profile. Now, you don't want to look over here as much because that's visible range. So that changes based on what I bring into what's visible. So that's why the advantage, if you have this in your tool set within TradingView, to be able to draw the fixed range in. So I can pick the swing low, and I'm actually including all the way out to the current edge here because I want to see where the POC is. But I wanted to emphasize for her the air pocket here. So as this started to come down, and it was questionable, are we done here? Because the C could have been done here. Well, we come right down here, look, and I just wick this off as prior structure here. You'll note I'm not on the tick high. I'm just using the highest close. Right? If I was on the tick high, we'd have been within a tick or two of this. But we come down. We just look right high volume node right there, just on the edge of it. So you can always, it's like a ledge. These ledges, all right, are pretty consistent here. If we're not going to go into it, we're like obviously right or you just. As we've been sitting here for all this time, you can understand why that volume profile is so pronounced here. But we came down just to the edge of it. That little high volume node there sends it back up. But this is what the emphasis point was. If we start to come down here, if we break here, you can even just look in what I've drawn in because we went up so fast here. Right, so there's no base built here, so it's very vulnerable. If we come down here, let's take this up because that's going to confuse the matter. Right. If we start to come down here, here's the Vegas wave here, which is different than a volume profile support. You could consider this technical support, but it would not be this is not going to hold it by itself. If we come down here, that it's vulnerable, right? So that you could easily blow right through this. Now you're back down here to this little pocket where you have a bit of a base. So if we start coming down, that was the emphasis here, and that you should be aware of that if we do start coming down, there is definitely an air pocket where we could easily move from one within that range. So my point being that is, a 2 hour here, we can kind of get into this. Well, coming off the low here, this is my primary count. I'm going to show you an alternate that will allow for, if this kicks higher, there's another way you could count this. As it is right now, I think we can go in the green here. Oh, I guess that's not in the way. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is how we left it, I think, last week. It's questionable because this you could interpret this as corrective as an expanded B, but we don't get it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we end with a diag to give us the proposed fifth of the one wave here, ABC, shallow 2. All right, Bitcoin is prone to that, as we've seen on multiple time frames, including the daily. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, skinny, ABC into the 4, not much of a 5 there. I'm on a 2 hour, about down to a 15 minute. You probably get a better 5 there. ABC is skinny. Look, right, it's the same thing, right? We could just a couple of ticks off of that structure. It holds it here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So as it sits here, you've got all the ingredients for a completed impulse right here. Well, if we're complete, well, that would give us a C wave. It gives us the potential for a C wave. So something has completed here. Could be a C wave, could be a 1 wave, could be an A wave. We don't know, right? So at this point in time, you can only react to it based on what comes next. Well, as we sit here right now, if this were the C wave of the B and we were going to start down into an impulse to give us our C for those targets, to give us those targets down here. Well, that's not much of a start on it, is it, right? That doesn't look like we're, 1, 2, well, now, maybe, okay, maybe. But that if this is 1, 2, and this is 1, 2, 3, well, we've already overlapped here. Okay, so maybe, although it certainly doesn't look like it, maybe a leading diag into the 1 wave of the 1 wave. Maybe it's starting to look like it's more corrective, and there's another leg up. I mean, just looking where we are here. So if I use this pivot here, it's annoying how that little bubble comes up. Okay, so I get right on it. All right, between the 50 and the 618, I got a little algo target up here. right? It's dominant here at this degree, right? So, right, from here to that algo target, well, that's going to give us a new high. So you're going to have to recount it if we go up here. Well, it depends how far we go. I suppose this could be an expanded B wave, but let's not complicate if we don't have to. The alternate would be, hey, looks like a kind of a sideways, almost look like a little triangle here. But it looks like you'd have to go WXY because this little ABC, ABC. And if we're done here, we can't finish with the 3, the only way we could is if it's an ABC. So it looks like if that's going to go up again, which it might, right? Now we are on Friday, going to the weekend. Wild card, you never know what's going to happen going into a weekend. If we pop up higher and we're now pushing 42, which many people have as significant resistance up here, well, that would be as we looked at the 3-4, well, here's the upper part of that range, just shy of 42, which is why so many have that as our 42. Then here would be the 50 from the top, 43, right? Here's the golden zone from the top, 47 to 48.7. So if we're going to hold here and we're going to kick up a little bit higher, well, that would have me still thinking, okay, well, maybe something else is going on here. Maybe let's push it up here. Maybe the 5 is yet to come. This completes the 3, and the 4 is either still going in or over here. Well, a little tricky to get there, but it's doable. You can get it. Oh, let's see. Before I go there, because that's probably where I'll finish. If we're going up for that, it's not so far gone that I would think, oh, okay, we're going into an extension. We'd be right here to the edge of the 3-4. That would be the pivot high of the 3. There's the 50. So you really have a nice clear potential zone here if we're going to go up and get that, where we might then in turn anticipate this after this last little push up. It remains to be seen. We do not have it yet, but if we start to come down in something that would look impulsive, and it will show itself as it comes. For the alternate count as to how to accommodate that, it has to happen down here. We have to allow for it down here. So let's I think I have it over here. I do. Okay, so this is that other template that I've shown what members will recognize here, where we've got cumulative delta. We have this RSI that's done as a histogram, and then we have an ADX down here showing potential. We have a breakout zone and a cautionary zone here. Well, so as we sit here, there's a pretty good push down here. Sellers, not surprising here, cumulative delta is negative here, and we didn't quite get to our thrusting range here, so there could be more down here. But the count, it gets a little tricky, and I had to go down to a 30-minute. I do have these additional moving averages on here, so it's the 21.55. Oh, shit, what do I have? No, pardon me, it's 13, 21, 55, 89, 200. Sure, I think that's what I have. Oh, I better check that. What have I got here? Pardon me, 21, 34, 55, 89, and then the 200. All right, so 21, 34, 55, 89, 200, right? All fib numbers except for the 200, which I use just because so many others use it, right? So it's good to be aware of it. Vegas Wave has the 233 as a true fib number. So, I digress. So here, as a matter of fact, I'm going to pull those off because they're kind of crowd us up a little bit and looking at this count. I'll leave the 200 on because that's just such a tick perfect. It's why you always want to know where the 200 is on any time frame. Doesn't matter because it's used on all time frames. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I can get a 1 here. A, B, C. It's mighty skinny. But then you'd have to yet go again into a 1, 2. Now, this is a... Some might argue it's a force fit. So ABC, ABC, ABC. So we get a flat as a combination. So it's WXY. Would get us into a 2. Shallow 2, but Bitcoin is prone to this. Impatient market, right? The market doesn't want to wait for that correction to complete and look at the rip that comes off of that. So as I pull back out here, it would be 1, 2. Now that's important here, this 1, 2, because that's how we're going to allow for this to be the 4. So right off the bat, if that's the case, if it's 1, 2, 1, 2. Well, I can go 3, 4, 5, and I can finish the 3 here. Now, immediately, what's the problem and why this is not my primary but is a secondary is because look at the difference in size and time. This would be the 2 relative to this being the 4. Dramatic, right? And this is kind of sideways, this is sideways. So we don't have good alternation other than in size, I suppose. We're alternating size and time. But it's not it's not perfect Elliott, right? And so again, you'll often hear me say Elliott's not perfect, don't expect it to be, but that has me just pausing. Right, so that's why this is not my primary. So, but if we're going to stay down here as the 4 and hold the 200, and this, Jesus, it's just amazing how consistent this is. All right, so here's the 200. Oh God, never the first click. Look how we hit the high volume node as we hit the 200. Right, I know, right? Probably just a coincidence. Not okay. So as we go up here, then we've got this as a target up here. All right, so that could finish us here, and then we'd be at, that's assuming we get the algo target. Actually, it looks like there's an internal algo play here as well. So we'd have 2 targets here. We may not get this. That would be 41.9. This one would have us breaking 42, so it could be a breakout, run the stops, and then they rip it down, right? Wouldn't be surprising in Bitcoin. So other than the 2 to the 4 being a little suspect here, this plays. This plays better. This one is has better symmetry. So if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that one actually looks a little bit better than the one that would have this as the 1, 2. But the impulse that's in here is quite clean and has good wave relationships. This is a little skinny, but now here we sit, right? If that's going to go, so why go through all this? Because you got to have a plan if this goes higher. There has to be a count where you go, oh shit, fuck, okay, I know exactly what happened there. I know where we are. Oh, secondary becomes primary. Okay, where are we? Well, we're still potentially in the C, because I think what's least likely, doesn't mean it's impossible, but what's least likely is that this is a 1 wave and that the low is in. At some point, so this is it's interesting, right? So this is where traders get tested, right? At some point here, if this starts to go up, and we push. Oh, let's zoom in a little bit. Oh, let's use here. I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon. I always think I'm going to have a short one. Never is a short one. If we start to push up higher here and we get up to this level, there's 47, right? Now the market is going to get bullish again. Well, here's where the true litmus test and the test of your commitment to this methodology, because if you're a true Elliottician and we get up to this level here, it would be for you to now turn bullish here, as if we hit that, assuming we do it in a 3, well, you're not an Elliott Wave trader anymore, right? But you've got to have faith in the fact that this pattern is prone to repeat. Not guaranteed to repeat, but the odds would play such that the 5 down here, if indeed we follow this with a 3, and it may be that it ends up being a complex 3 via the WXY, this would not be the time to be a buyer, because what it'd be doing here is confirming the correction and the anticipation that there's one more leg down to complete the zigzag. So if you start buying here, if we complete this, it'll be very interesting to see. Maybe we'll have it next Friday, maybe the Friday after that. It'll be very interesting to see how many pseudo Elliotticians start buying there. Because I promise you, crypto Twitter, the media, financial reporters, all will be all abuzz about Bitcoin breaking. Next stop 50K. Next stop new all-time high. So you got to have some faith in your chosen methodology here. So if you're a member, boy, if you're buying that, you haven't been paying attention. If you're a YouTube sub and you're just casually entertaining the possibility of approaching the market with Elliott Wave in the background of what you're thinking, if you're a buyer here, you're way too casual to make any money with Elliott Wave over the long term. You can't just say, well, I like it when it works. I don't like it when it doesn't work. You either commit to something or you don't. So if you start buying here, you better have well, again, assuming you're an Elliott Wave trader, if you start buying here, you better have a count that justifies it. And I will be first in line to want to see that count. I don't see a way that we get there as it sits right now. You got to have faith, man. You got to have faith in your methodology here, and the idea that the genius of Elliott was simply the 5s and the 3s. That's the pure genius of his entire approach. Now you can complicate it, simplify it. You can make it as crazy as you want, right? Many people have so and make a good living doing that. But right now, as this sits, the assumption would have to be that this is corrective and there remains to be one more impulse down to take it down. Right? So how committed are you? Right? Well, we're going to find out if, right? No, we don't know that that's coming, but if it does come, right, and we do it, I don't know, maybe we do it in a WXY, maybe there's another kicker here that gets us to the 50, and then we're just back to this being a B wave here that only makes the 50, right? While it wouldn't be as perfect as I'd like to see it, it would still be perfect Elliott, right? 50 to the 786 is the perfect range for a B wave. So if we come up here, we get that B, and you start buying, you haven't been paying attention and you have no faith in this methodology. So you ought to go to price action or something that's going to allow for much more simplicity. In my view, right? We will see. Well, we will see how people approach that when we get there. It's going to be very interesting. Here's what I can promise you. I will not be buying there. If anything, if we get up to that 50, I'm going to start looking at trying to hedge with some out of the money options because I'll be anticipating that. Doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to come, but that's the anticipation. That's the odds play, right? Which is all we're ever doing, playing the odds. What is the most probable path? What is the pattern most probable to repeat here? Not guaranteed, probable. We don't get guarantees in the market. All we get is probabilities. All right, guys, there we go. That's probably plenty, probably more than enough. Okay, with that, I will just remind you can always join us if you want to tune up that Elliott education. This is the best place I know of to do it because I've looked at everything and based all of this content off of everything else that I saw that I didn't like or didn't think was good enough. There you go. Right? Not ready for that yet? You want to come in on the free side? Start there. Okay, guys. There you go. That'll do it for today. We shall see. I remind you, the potential here is absolute Elliott perfection. We'll see. Okay, guys. Have a good weekend.